Hi and welcome to this video about Constructivism and Constructionism. Let's jump right in with the overview. Constructivism started out in the 1920s. It's very close to cognitivism, but argues that mental models are idiosyncratic rather than universal. Construction is a metaphor for mental process. They highlight the importance of building your own knowledge, and students are seen as active in the construction of their own knowledge. Names you want to recognize here are Piaget and von Glasersfeld. When people talk about constructivism, they can mean three different things: individual constructivism, radical constructivism, or social constructivism. This means that when searching for this, it can get very confusing. I will try to show the difference here to help you when you go out and look for more information. So first we have the individual constructivism. It is very close to cognitivism, and it is sometimes called cognitive constructivism. For example, Piaget, that is a key figure in cognitivism, is also considered to be the founder of constructivism, and you will find his theories described in both fields. I have even heard it described as that constructivism are the application of cognitivism for learning. But this also highlights a difference. Individual constructivism is a learning theory, while cognition also is a broader field. Another difference would be that individual constructivism argues that mental models are idiosyncratic rather than universal. So the models are seen as more individual than general. As I mentioned in the cognitivism video, modern cognitivism also talks about how knowledge is constructed by the individual, and therefore today they overlap. This means that we covered most of this, or a lot of this, not most, but in the video of cognitivism, so I won't go into this any deeper here. The next type of constructivism is social constructivism. As social constructivism today is a broader concept with many different parts, it is often seen as a learning theory of its own, separated from the others. And this is since it has a slightly different approach to how it sees that the learner constructs knowledge. And this is how we will approach it also, and therefore it will get a video of its own that you can watch after this one. And the last type is called radical constructivism, and it was first developed by Ernest von Glasersfeld. It is more of an epistemological stance than a practical one. This means that it's more interested in what knowledge is than the role of the learner in constructing the knowledge. So, in the end, this means that it doesn't really have much of a practical use for us as game designers. So therefore, I won't go any deeper into it here. Instead, we will actually touch upon constructionism, since that is also mentioned by Hammer et al. That we took our start from. Constructionism was developed at MIT by Seymour Papert in the 80s and 90s. I understand that it is super confusing that it has almost the same name as constructivism. The reason for this is because Papert saw his ideas as a further development of Piaget's constructivism. So it comes from the same roots, and I assume he wanted to show that connection. Papert actually studied under Piaget personally. So what is the difference then? Constructionism have a strong connection to information technology. Constructionism starts with constructivism ideas about how we learn individually, but then adds the idea that learning happens extra well if the learner is engaged in constructing what they call a public entity. And a public entity is an artifact like a sandcastle or a theory of the universe. The idea is that the external learning will enhance the internal learning. Paper talked about strong transfer effects in relation to this, especially for computational thinking. An example would be that if you learn to do computer programming, you will then learn general problem-solving skills that you can then apply in many other areas. We talked in the Learning in Praxis video about how we humans usually are not very good at transfer, and that the further it is between the areas where you want to transfer the knowledge, the harder it gets. And this seems to go against what Paper talked about here. Paper's ideas about this was actually later tested in empirical studies by Simon P., and the results actually contradicted Paper's arguments. But even if that part didn't get support empirically, many of the more general ideas from constructionism are still around and are being used. For example, project-based learning can be seen as building on some of these ideas, and it is also used quite a lot in relation to role-playing games and LARP. And with this, we actually finish off this video about constructivism and constructionism. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. And I see you again in the next video about social constructivism.